Hey everyone, welcome to the Marketing Guides for Small Business podcast. And today's episode is packed with strategies and insights every small business owner needs, especially in tough times when the economy gets challenging. The knee jerk reaction is often to slash marketing budgets and cut back. But what if I told you this is precisely when you should be doubling down on strategic marketing? In a down economy, there's more at stake and more opportunity for those who play their cards just right. So today we're diving into how you can not only survive but thrive. And we'll talk about smart, cost effective ways to stay visible, to engage with loyal customers, and even capture market share that your competitors might be leaving on the table. From the power of customer loyalty to budget friendly digital tactics and creative ways to make every dollar count, this episode is here to give you a competitive edge when you need it most. So, if you're ready to learn how to make your marketing work harder and smarter, stick around. This could be a game changer for your business. And today I'm joined by Ken Tucker, Paul Barthel from Changescape Web, and Jeff Steck. Are we in different spots? Like Jeff to me is on my
I don't know. The eyes are going everywhere, right?
from
Paul's
from
easy to
Tylerica.
find. Yeah, Paul's easy to find.
And I am Ian Cantle from Outsource Marketing and Dental Marketing Heroes. So, guys, I'm really excited about this topic because I know we've all heard it from prospects, from clients. Not everybody is having a tough time, but a lot of businesses are feeling the pinch right now. So, Ken, why don't I start with you? Is it important for small businesses to maintain or even enhance their marketing efforts in a down economy, a tougher economy? And if so, why?
Yeah, absolutely. I think the knee-jerk reaction is that way too many businesses look at marketing as an expense instead of an investment, and so they just slash, and try to eliminate costs. And there are cost aspects to marketing and advertising. There's no doubt about that. But before you do that, really think about what is going on and the opportunity that really awaits you. You have to continue to do things to stay top of mind, and so you can't just remove yourself from all of these different potential marketing channels that you may have been using and investing in, or you may be thinking it's an expense. If you're doing it right, it is an investment. We talk about force multiplication a lot on this episode, and so you want to do things that have cumulative additive value working in conjunction with each other. So you may need to adjust your budget. There may be no doubt about that, but just don't randomly slash it without consideration of what the implications are. And actually, I think there's an opportunity for you to double down and make an investment, because your competitors are going to have that same knee-jerk reaction. Oh my God, I've got to cut costs. I'm spending all this money on this stuff. They're also looking at it 90% of the time, unfortunately, as an expense, not an investment. So if you continue to spend money and invest in the growth of your business while your competitors are deciding to shrink, that makes it easier for you to have increased visibility and whatnot. And we're going to talk a lot about this in this episode, the tools and the tactics that you roll into the strategy as you're dealing with this. Now is the time to really try to take advantage of customer loyalty, to leverage those relationships, or strengthen those customer relationships, because also in a down economy, it's also a lot more painful when you do lose a customer, client, or patient. And so, you definitely want to focus on that. Realize that, while your business may be facing some financial stress in a down economy, your customers may also be feeling that stress. So what do you need to do to innovate to help them? Do you need to offer a payment plan? Maybe you don't currently offer a payment plan, but maybe you need to have a payment plan. Maybe you need to, create some new solutions. Maybe, think about, the most recent situation we saw with this was when COVID, impacted so many restaurants. For example, restaurants had to make a pivot from where many of the restaurants were literally, the majority of the orders they got were where people came in and spent time at the restaurant and ordered and ate at the restaurant. And so they had to quickly pivot to figure out, how do I get involved in being able to do delivery? And yeah, there were delivery services that you could sign up for, with DoorDash and Grubhub and Uber Eats and things like that, but they take a healthy chunk of margin. So while you're able to maybe pivot to take advantage of using a new channel, I mean, they gave you new channels because they list you on their website, and people were like, "Oh, I'm just going to go to DoorDash and see what I can go grab to have delivered." Well, you need to be a part of that if that's important for your restaurant, for example. But at the same time, you have to figure out, it's a new model, it's a new channel, it has new costs associated with it, but you have to be prepared to pivot and pivot quickly in a down economy, especially if it's an abrupt situation. So the other thing is, most businesses do have bloated costs that you do need to go through and look at and evaluate. And, that could be that you're spending money on unnecessary things from a marketing perspective, but maybe not. Maybe you do want to double down and actually increase your budget. But, are there things that you can reduce costs in other areas so that you have money to continue to make those investments? Operational costs, for example, take a look at that and see what you can do there. That's honestly, that's the way most big businesses survive and come out through a down economy, is they go through and they really create a much more lean operation. And obviously they may have more runway to work with to be able to do that, but that's very much their mindset. So, but as you're doing this, you need to, obviously we're in an economy where it's also difficult to find, a good and maintain a good workforce. So as you're making any of these types of adjustments, whether it's changing the marketing that you're doing, the offers related to the marketing that you're doing, you have to make sure you communicate that effectively with your team and with your staff and get them on board with it. Ask them for ideas, because they may have some very good ideas. They may already know requests that customers are making because they interface with them, on maybe a more direct level. And so, by all means, I think now is the time to hunker down, collaborate, work together as a team, but don't just slash marketing. Make an investment, because I think it's the most important time for you to maintain visibility is in a down economy. It's the last thing you can do to become invisible. That's not going to serve you well, unless you literally can and have and will continue to survive 100% on, referrals from friends, family, a referral network that you've built, and that's all you want to do. You might be okay with that, but that chances are you weren't really putting much of an investment in marketing in that case anyway.
Yeah. Any other thoughts, Paul or Jeff?
Yeah, I'll go back to the I think it was Peter Drucker quote. He said the only two functions in a business that make money are marketing and innovation, whatever product or service you're delivering. So you got to have somebody to sell your product or service to, and that means you got to do marketing to get their attention and bring them in the door. And cutting marketing is a race to the bottom. Now, yeah, realities say that you may need to. Cost controls, Ken, you mentioned looking. I mean, we're just going through an exercise that ourselves as we look at next year's budget planning, is what unnecessary expenses do we have that we can cut out? And yeah, we love bright, shiny objects. We were just talking about that before we went live. Are there some, that we don't need anymore? So those kinds of things are good, but cutting in the actual marketing itself, if anything, I would advocate it's a time to look at going, in even deeper. It could be a competitive differentiator for your business, right? If everybody else is kind of turtling, pulling their head in and not doing much, if you're the one out there getting everyone's attention, you win. I think, history has shown that the businesses that don't waver, that go in on their marketing, will explode. They'll stay strong and they'll explode out of the rebound when it comes, because they've got the mind share. So Yeah, absolutely. Cut where you have to, but don't cut it out. Don't cut it first, and really consider, maintaining, and how do you then leverage that into the future.
Yeah, I mean, I think the important thing is, look, anytime there's stress on a business, it's time for invention and reinvention, and embrace it. Don't fight it. Don't have a gut reaction to it. It's like, oh, I've got to slash slash slash. You can retool, and maybe you come up with even a better marketing solution, because what you may have been doing over the last couple of years, maybe it worked really well, but there's always an opportunity for innovation and improvement, and take advantage of that. There are some really cool things that you can do, and we're going to talk about the set of tactics and tools and things like that you can move forward with.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and I think probably the reason why a lot of businesses do look at their marketing budget to cut is it's a big line item. If they're doing good marketing, it's not cheap, but it's an investment, right? But I think the biggest reason they do it is because of a failure of directly connecting. Here's our marketing strategy. Here's what we're doing, and sales revenue, right? A lot of businesses do not have a direct, visible connection that says these are the things we're doing from a marketing perspective, and here's the result. And so all their mind can think of is cost of marketing. Sales aren't working right now. But if sales are the problem, if revenue generation is the issue, and marketing is the one of the key vehicles, right? Donald Miller in Business Made Simple, just like you were talking about Peter Drucker, Jeff. Donald Miller talks about, your marketing made simple. Your wings, he uses an airplane analogy, and your wings are sales on one side, marketing on the other side. And so if you rip those off, if you get rid of all your sales team, or get rid of all your, if you get rid of your marketing, you have no wings to provide lift, right? It's all of a sudden you're going to tank. And so, I think we all, when we're consulting with businesses, we highly encourage them. Like, look, this is the time to ensure you're investing in the right marketing things for sure, but don't cut your investment. Don't cut your wings off, or you're just gonna flop around and die a slow, hideous death.
I guess the other thought you just triggered related to that is, if you look at places to cut, keep in mind that marketing needs to be more than one tactic, right? We were all very big on that. We're strategy first. We're multi-channel, if not omni-channel. And if you say, well, I'm going to cut everything except for,
Social
this one
media
tactic, now you're back to that one tactic that, without all of the other support around it and all of the other touch points around it, is just not going to be effective. So yeah, definitely, be intentional, be careful, and don't, indiscriminately cut things that are going to wind up hurting you in the long run.
Yeah, this has to be thoughtfully done.
Yeah. Paul, next question's for you. How can small businesses adjust their marketing goals to align with a challenging economy? That seems to be kind of a common theme we've already started talking about is, don't cut your marketing, but if you need to, at least you should very much assess it or reassess it, but then be innovative, right? So what can small businesses do to adjust these goals and align their efforts in a challenging time?
Well, focusing on retention, you should be doing that anyway, but retention over acquisition. But there's some businesses that if you have a high ticket item, if you're a roofer and that's all you do is roofing, well, how often do people buy a roof, So maybe if you historically didn't offer other services like gutter cleaning, maybe you should consider doing that. These other things that you can offer as a roofer, because like I said, you're going to get a roof about once every 20 years unless you have a good hailstorm come along. So, but you should always be focusing on retention. And we've talked about in the past that after a business makes a sale and they're finished providing the service or whatever, they're done. And that's that's a bad strategy, and that becomes even more important when the economy is bad. Recognize that it may, if people have concerns about the economy, it might take them longer to part with their money. You know, your sales cycle might increase a little bit. So just recognize that. And some, I think Ken mentioned it, some businesses and some people aren't as affected by the economy, or maybe not affected at all. So find out who that is. What type of ideal clients do you have that are less affected by an economic downturn, and focus on them, and know what part of the market share that is. Maybe you adjust your marketing to focus on those particular clients, and you just have to adjust your expectations. If people have concerns about the economy and they're taking longer to make buying decisions, then just recognize that. And if you have a product or service that has a higher profit margin, which again, you should be doing this anyway, or high value products or services, maybe you make adjustments to focus more on those particular products or services.
Yeah. So, I mean, Paul, with what you just said, one of the things that immediately comes to my mind is now is the time you need to be making it, greasing the skid a little bit through the customer journey. And so you need to go back and reevaluate, because of a challenging economy. Like you said, your sales cycle may be longer. What can you do to make it easier for people to make that decision to move, from, know, like, trust to but try, buy, repeat, and refer? Now's the absolute time you have to go through and do that. Maybe you need to come up with new trial offers to get people to experience your product or service before they're really willing to make that full investment. Like I said earlier, maybe you need to come up with a payment plan to reduce the friction, of them paying for the solution. Maybe you need to create new marketing materials that help them understand how it's actually really going to be solving their problem and why it's more important than ever to be able to do that. It's just the perfect time to go back and dial in what you've been doing. And actually, I think it's an essential time.
Yeah, and using a CRM to create nurture sequences, which again, you should be doing that anyway, but that's probably going to become even more important because again, people are probably going to take longer to pull the trigger and make that decision.
Yeah, I love the point you brought up about that. There's always winners and losers isn't the right way to think about it, but there's always people that float easily through economic downturns, and there's people that struggle, right? Depending on jobs, their personal economics, all of that kind of stuff. But absolutely, like if you can do a luxury product or a higher level of product that garners you more revenue from that, it's got a higher margin to it, but you deliver an exceptional service. That's the key, I think, is you can't sell like a luxury type version of your product unless you truly think about how am I going to make this unique and how am I going to communicate this uniqueness to people. But if your margins suddenly go up 3 times, then truthfully, you only need 1/3 of the clients or customers that you needed before, right? So you can position your business in such a way to serve a different clientele, but you have to be really, if you had the luxury of time, I would suggest, make sure you quality's first. Make sure you do this as a pilot project and test it out. Like float it past some people that are interested in luxury products or luxury versions of your service. And Ken's holding up the
elements of value pyramid.
Elements of value pyramid.
I refer to it all the time. I mean, what do you sell? Is it existential? Is it something that deals with somebody's health and safety? and therefore it's essential, then that, that comes into play when you're in a stressful economy. They still need it, but it may be still very difficult for them to make that purchase. So, consider that. But then also, as Ian's talking about, if you have more luxury and more discretionary, uh, you know, ideal clients, and they don't feel that stress, they may actually be willing to pay more to get a higher level product or service. So, it's essential for you to really think about, what do you sell and how does it solve a problem for a customer, and where does that fit on the continuum of, existential need versus aspirational desire.
I wanted to also just express, I love the idea that Paul, you raised about like the gutter cleaning, right? For a roofing company, either you're laying staff off or you're going to leverage them to try to fill your funnel, right? And that's a fantastic way. Like if you combined gutter cleaning, which is either very low cost or like it's not going to be a money maker for you, really, it's going to keep your team busy to some degree. But if you can combine that with something like a free roof assessment, because they're up there anyways, and they know you're roofing experts, and they can take pictures of, hey, you're missing some shingles, or your shingles are crumbling, your gutters are filled with crumbling shingle gravel or whatever that stuff is. I'm not speaking from experience, but that's like right there. That's actually a form of a marketing funnel. It's just kind of in a small sense.
Yeah.
But Jeff, I think you were going to jump in.
Yeah, I was just going to say, there's different directions you can go, and a lot of them should be explored, right? Potentially creating a lower end product, right? If your high end product is people love it but they just can't afford it, then is there a reduced version, a light version? If you're a roofer and you're selling, architectural dimensional, the real high end shingles, just straight regular shingles make sense. A lot of businesses can define some kind of a stripped down version of their product. And is it what they ultimately want to sell? No, but is it a defensive strategy to keep going? Yeah. And Ian, I liked your comment about, the roofer. Yeah, it's not going to be the margins of a roof, but you're keeping your crews busy. And with somebody with experience in the home services business, crews are everything. And if you lose them because you can't keep them busy, then you're going to have a hard time rebounding. Yeah. So painters have ladders. They can do Christmas lights, right? There's
painter for a day,
different things. Painter for a day. But I think looking at, the ideal client, is your ideal client shifting because of the economy? And then kind of using that as at least an exercise to look at what you're offering, and is there room in the portfolio to offer something else that would better meet the needs of, today's client. Doesn't mean that you totally give up on everything else. It just means you be flexible and adaptable and willing to pivot.
Yeah. I think now is the time too, to like, as a business owner or leader, you need to really look at your sales goals, adjust them as required, incentivize people maybe in unique ways. Maybe it's giving them, a bonus if they reach a target or a goal, and it's like a grocery card or something, right? Like just thinking creatively where people would find the most value, and then create micro successes, right? You need to keep yourself motivated, but you also need to keep your team motivated. And sometimes in the past, maybe you rang the bell for the big wins, but you weren't ringing the bell for the small wins. I've been in some of those corporate environments where they have a bell on the wall for the sales, right? And that's a picture of celebrating wins, and I think that's important as well. Jeff, what are some of the best strategies for keeping existing customers loyal in a challenging economy?
Yeah, so loyal customers is always a good thing to focus on. We've talked about that before. It costs a lot more to cultivate a new customer, client, patient than it does to retain existing ones. So these are things that a lot of times you should be doing anyway, but even more so important if it's going to be harder to get new clients. You need to really rely on the ones that you've got. So embrace them, show them some love. Don't just say they're out of sight, out of mind. Remember that once the sale is made, that's when the rest of the customer journey begins. The service, the repeat business, the referrals, and those are going to become especially more important if you want to spend less money on other kinds of marketing. You're going to need those aspects of your marketing to kick in. So show them some love. Let them know that you're here, you're in it too. And I think what I just said about, kind of maybe your ideal client at least temporarily shifts, and you get in their heads and you figure out what they need, and then make sure you have something that will meet their potentially changing needs. So ask them, just goes back to the, do your homework, do your research, make sure you're staying current. You can do customer appreciation events, bring people together. You can do a lunch or a breakfast fairly economically. Referral reward programs are always good. You're going to spend a little bit of money on the program, a little bit of money on the rewards, but it's bringing business in. And whether that's a new client coming in or it's a loyalty, every 5th visit you get a free coffee, or whatever that looks like. At least you're maybe taking a little hit on margins, but you're keeping the business. And I think that's one of the key things, is keeping the business going, keeping the name out there, keeping the reputation up, continuing to get reviews, and again, looking ahead to when you can accelerate out of the downturn. Communication becomes super important for loyalty and referral. So make sure you keep the communications going. Try and personalize it as much as you can. You don't want to send an email, dear first name. You want to actually have the first name in the CRM when you do that. And then if you can, personalize it with something about them or their situation. Offline methods, handwritten cards are still a good way to personalize and create some communication. We talked about loyalty programs. Customer service, of course, has got to be at the center of everything you do. You've got to maintain the reputation as being, with your clients through thick or thin. And why would they want to go anywhere else? Why wouldn't they want to refer somebody to you for the experience? So while that's good practices all the time, it's even more important in a downturn. Asking for feedback. And I think, again, that's stay up with what your clients, customers, patients are thinking and feeling. And then payment options kind of came up before too. Everybody's feeling the pain. Everybody has stuff they want to get done, or in some cases need to get done. If your house needs a new roof, it needs a new roof. It's not really elective. If your air conditioner goes out in Texas in July, you need a new air conditioner in Texas in July. So offering, ways to do payment options. And if, a lot, depending on the business, there are probably third parties you can work with that can help you set up those programs. But make sure your loyal customers, have a way to keep paying, and make sure any new customers, make it as easy as possible. And then I think it came up earlier, Ken. I think everyone said it in some form or another. Make sure you're adding value. I mean, Ken had the value pyramid. You've got to focus on adding value. It's not just about making sales to survive. It's about adding value, building reputation, and positioning yourself for success in the future. So educational content, tips, using, Paul said you got to have a CRM. You got to use the marketing platforms and the tools. Use them to stay in touch with people. Give them value. Give them tips and things they can act on. Things that can save them money. You don't have to say, I'm going to save you money so you have it to spend with me. But I mean, that's the ultimate effect, right? Just do what you can to help them through and help them out with their lives and business. And, it goes back to the saying, givers gain, right? Give as much as you can, stay profitable. And then you'll be positioning yourself for the long term.
Yeah, one of the ones I love for this section that we're talking about is with dentists. This time of year is perfect for use them or lose them campaigns, where people's insurance benefits, most insurance plans run out at the end of the year and then reboot. And so for most people, that's either paid contributions into that plan, or it's part of their compensation from the work they do. And, the stats that I saw for that were 30% of benefits are left on the table every year on average. And that's not just dental benefits, but obviously for dentists and for, if chiropractics are covered and that kind of stuff, like you as the practitioner have the opportunity to, first of all, serve your patients, your clients better by helping them take better care of themselves. It's not, needlessly using your benefits for the sake of using your benefits. It's actually getting the care you should have in order to keep the healthiest, best you possibly can.
Mm-hmm.
Any other thoughts, guys, on that topic before we move on?
Mm.
Great points, Jeff.
Yeah.
Ken, which digital marketing tactics do you think are most effective for small businesses on a tight budget?
Yeah. I love this topic. As a matter of fact, I just did a presentation on this. I really think, we talked about the first three last week, the 3 R's: reviews, referrals, and reactivation. So Jeff just kind of covered a couple of those. Right now is the time, to really make sure you're getting really good, strong online reviews, building that social proof, and so if you haven't been working on getting a steady stream of good quality reviews, particularly on your Google profile, now's the time, especially now's the time to start making that happen. Customer reactivations, we talked about that all last week. This is the time, where if you can get your past or current customers to come back and make an additional purchase with your business, there's a lot less friction there. They already know, like, and trust you. They've had a great experience with you. In some cases, even telling them, look, our business is a little slow. If you have a need right now, it's the perfect time to do it. We can get you in on our calendar before the end of the year or whatever it might be. Or another thing right now that's going on, for businesses like us, is if you need to make a marketing investment, why not do it now in 2024? Get that on the books for 2024 so that maybe you bring down your taxable income because you've made that additional investment. And look, I'm not a tax advisor, so you need to check with your CPA, but you might stand a real benefit. And the problem is most small businesses don't start their marketing for the next business year until a month and a half, 2 months, maybe even 3 months into that year. And you've already lost so much opportunity, and your customers love you for it. I mean, not your customers, your competitors. They love you for it because you've given them up to a 3-month runway. So now is the time to do that. Jeff mentioned referral campaigns. Building and formalizing a referral program and publicizing that to the people who are going to be able to help you become your own marketing arm, your referral army. Absolutely, give them the tools they need to make that as easy as possible. Don't neglect your website. You may not be able to make big investments in your website, but you should absolutely make sure it has key elements like clear message, differentiation, social proof by putting, reviews and testimonials and credibility badges, of your certifications or whatnot, prominently on your website. Email and text marketing, two channels that are almost criminally neglected by small businesses. Email marketing is the best, most cost-effective way to stay top of mind, other than maybe text marketing. You have to work these systems properly. Text marketing has some challenges now because there are technical requirements that you have to meet to be able to do text marketing through this A2P registration and whatnot. But they're so important in terms of channels. Offer creation. You need to think about creating offers that are going to get people to take action. And you need to be sensitive to that based on, who your potential buyers are going to be. And it could be an offer doesn't always have to be a discount. It may be a discount, but it could be a bundle where you get people to make a purchase where they would make a purchase and get a bigger set of things than they normally would. You really want to spend time and craft that, because that's going to drive faster action. And so building a sales funnel where you've got a traffic source, could be paid ad strategy, it could be SEO, it could be referral based, whatever it is. Have that traffic source, send them to a landing page designed to get people to convert, to take action. You got to give them an offer that's compelling enough for them to do so. You should have a booking solution in place so that people can make a reservation appointment, an estimate, whatever type of booking makes sense for your business. Make that seamless, make it super easy for them to do. Have a thank you page, and then have a nurture campaign in place, not only to have people claim the offer, but critically to get them to redeem the offer. You can run a great advertising campaign to drive people to claim an offer, but if they're not redeeming it, it means nothing to your business. And so too many businesses are just so excited that they got somebody to claim an offer. Well, that doesn't put revenue on the bottom line. So think about that. Speed of response. Paul mentioned CRM. Using, I think right now, an AI assistant of some type is a really cost-effective way to do this, because you don't have to make an investment in hiring additional personnel or paying for a call center. You actually can use an AI assistant and be incredibly effective with this. You can implement that with an IVR phone system so that there's a phone tree that people can navigate to get to the right source. The AI assistant can help with that, capturing the contacts, and then having marketing automation systems in place is a force multiplier in and of itself. So take advantage of that. Your Google business profile, if you're a business doing business in a local area, or people come to your place of business, is super critical to double down and make sure that you're doing what you need to do to improve how you're going to show up, on the Google Maps first, and ultimately, hopefully, in an overall SEO strategy. And then, there are a lot of different things that you can do to, that are cumulatively that are going to help with your search rankings. Content creation. Video right now is king. So if you haven't been investing in video, now's the time to make the investment in video, because you can repurpose that. A really cost-effective way to use that in multiple channels. You want to, there are AI solutions that are helpful with getting to SEO faster, because they're helping with the diagnostics and identifying issues. They give some decent recommendations. Don't buy anything from somebody who's selling a set it and forget it AI SEO strategy. That's really dangerous. But we use AI to get to the solution faster. And if you're using AI in a smart way, it's a very powerful way to improve your SEO. Take advantage of tools, that are out there that just have ridiculous capabilities, like Canva, for graphic design. I mean, you can create videos in Canva. You can do all of this with the free version. The paid version is not very expensive. It got a little bit more expensive, but it's still not very expensive, and it can create beautiful, marketing materials for you. So take advantage of things like that. Look at, is there a natural partner relationship that you need to build? If you're in a BNI chapter, you may already have 3 or 4 other businesses that kind of work together in your BNI sphere. If you don't have something like that, reach out to, vendors or contractors that you already naturally working with, and just formalize a relationship and arm each other with the tools to make it easier to sell, both what you have to offer, but also maybe what they have to offer, and put in place a reciprocal program where they're doing the same for you. That's really powerful. Formalize those things. If you haven't formalized them now, that's one of the best, most important things to do. And then keep advertising. Now is not the time to become a shrinking violet. You want to be as visible as possible. And in some cases, if you don't have that visibility, it may be more critical than ever to spend money on an advertising strategy, but do so in a way that you don't become dependent on the advertising, exclusively by cutting off everything else you're doing, from a marketing perspective. Right now, there are going to be companies that are going to be calling you saying, you can do everything with Facebook ads, or you can do everything with Google ads. You don't need to spend any money on any other thing. And they want to take your money and they'll do pretty sexy presentations. They'll have gorgeous reports that they show you and all this kind of stuff. But at the end of the day, you're becoming a one-trick pony. You've got one way to get business. And if that way doesn't work, or it doesn't work as expected, you've now just created a single point of failure. And the beauty of omni-channel marketing is you've got multiple points of failure, but also multiple points of success. And if you're integrating them and having them work in conjunction with each other, you're going to get that amplification effect. So I rattled off a bunch of tactics. I think to the extent that you can meld these together, we've actually created solutions designed to meld some of these things together at a very cost-effective price point, because we know that these are the things that are going to be, step on the gas pedal to get fast results kind of things. And so we've packaged a solution set together to be able to go there. And it's like Jeff said, sometimes you need to create, either downsell products or a lighter version of products, or in some cases you need to create bundles that actually give people the capabilities they need and the solution to solve the problems that they have, but maybe at a different price point than what you've done before. And the reason we can do that is because we've innovated. We have made investment in technologies, we've made investment in processes, we've optimized things. You can do the same thing. And so take advantage of those things.
Yeah. And the one thing I would always caution business owners of is don't think that you should bring all of this stuff in-house. Like sometimes there's a knee-jerk reaction of, well, it's going to cost me money elsewhere, but I have staff members that are being underutilized right now. There may be some things that they could help you with. But usually I see this as a pretty quick way to failure, because you lack the systems, you lack the processes, and quite frankly, you lack the expertise. Your team lacks the expertise to do this well. So you may have a lot of internal activity that feels like you're moving forward, but oftentimes it can create actually a setback for your business because your team's actually not focused on what they should be focused on, right? Which is delivering excellence, contacting people personally and all that kind of stuff. So that's just a caution that I do hear that sometimes, and I get it. But that would take you back to like your startup phase when you first started your business and you had to wear all the hats in the business. That's not ideal, and it's not going to help you tremendously once you start to gain some momentum, because now you have a gap in your marketing.
Yeah, something's going to be sacrificed when you do that.
Yeah.
And it may not be easily seen at the beginning.
Right.
That's a great point.
Yeah. And you mentioned kind of this holistic, systematic approach to marketing, Ken. And from experience, maybe you guys have anecdotal evidence of this as well, but I can absolutely say like the clients who have invested in holistic, system-based, strategic marketing, like they always go through these downturns better and come out of them so much stronger than people who piecemeal their marketing, because when you have that compounding effect of everything supporting the other and it's all strategically lifting it up, you always will have stronger roots than the other trees around you, so to speak.
As a matter of fact, we heard from a client yesterday that their backlog in work is approaching COVID levels. When,
Amazing.
At the height of when everybody was making buying decisions because they started to have some extra money because of COVID, because they were working from home, they didn't have the expenses, they didn't have, they had more time. They were getting some relief in other ways. They were making investments on a scale that we haven't seen for a very long time. And that's because they're doing omni-channel marketing and they actually increased their budget.
Fantastic. Let's move on to the next question. Paul, how can small businesses use data to make informed marketing decisions in a down economy? I talked a little bit at, when Ken was responding to the first question, just how that oftentimes there's this disconnect between what's happening and the investment. So what can be done from that way to help businesses?
The same way they'd use data in any other economy.
And what's that, Paul?
Next question. No.
Yeah.
Move along.
Moving on.
Thanks, Paul.
Well, one thing is, has your customer behavior changed? Are they buying it? Jeff talked about this, about maybe a lower level product than your premium product. Have they focused has their focus changed as to what product or service they're buying? Because if you notice that, then maybe you need to at least temporarily focus on promoting that product or that service. And what channels, we've been talking about omni-channel, has the channels where you're getting business from changed? If you notice that, then you might want to focus on that channel, put more money into that particular channel, if God forbid, if it's Facebook. But if where you're getting business from has changed, then you obviously need to make adjustments there. There's free analytics tools. You should know what kind of traffic you're getting to your website, what pages are getting the most traffic. Although Google Analytics 4 is one of the most obnoxious, convoluted user interfaces on the planet, but if you want to know what pages are getting traffic, you're going to have to either learn or have someone that at a very basic level knows how to get that information out of analytics. And goes back to user behavior, retention, and engagement. Has that changed? And again, if the pages on your website, if the pages that are getting the most traffic, if that has changed, then you might want to go back and adjust that content, refresh that content, and the A/B testing which marketing campaigns are giving you the highest ROI. We talked about that a little bit already, I think. So, and we always talk about A/B testing ads and messages. It's easier said than done, but it is important, especially if you're trying to find out what things work best. So that's kind of a high level overview of that. I know we're coming up on an hour here.
Yeah. Yeah. One thing that, we haven't really said so far is, we had Allie Bloyd on our podcast a while back, and in regard to Facebook ads, most people, they run Facebook ads and they try to sell, and that's the whole purpose of what they're doing with their ads. And really, when you look at the data, what we see is, if you spend a little bit of money on building awareness and education and warming people up, and then you sell to that audience, and then you remarket to that audience, at any given time, her statistic was roughly 3% of people are ready to make that purchase decision right now. And so if all you're doing is throwing your money at Facebook ads just to try to get people to buy, and you're not doing awareness and you're not doing remarketing, you're leaving up to a total of 15% of the population who might buy on the table. So you're losing up to 12% with just minimal additional investments. So you need to do this stuff strategically, and you need to look at the data to help guide you to make those decisions. And, if you're running a Facebook ad campaign, take advantage of that, look at that behavior, drive your costs down so that you can get the most out of your advertising budgets, whether you're Google ads, whatever it might be. Just don't don't for, don't fall into those easy traps, because right now is the worst possible time that you could fall into those easy traps, because you're going to think you're going to be spending a lot of money on this, and it's probably a lot of wasted money because you're not capturing an easy up to 12% of the additional opportunity that you might have.
Yeah, and bringing us kind of full circle with the measurement idea, like anything you're doing, anything you're investing in, whether it's sweat equity or paying someone to do from a marketing perspective, if you can't track it, how do you know it's a success? You need to absolutely be tracking everything. And then I would say the two key measurements you should also be tracking, on top of the great ones that Paul's provided, are source attribution tracking. And so that's meaning, so trying to attach a source of a lead to an actual sale. And the only way you can do that is through CRM systems, really. But then also being able to leverage call tracking, form tracking, all of that kind of stuff. So that's super important, because otherwise, how do you make a decision on what's working and what's not, if you don't know the source of leads? And then the last one is conversion metrics across your client's buyer's journey. So we talked about the marketing hourglass of know, like, trust, try, buy, repeat, and refer. If you can't actually measure the conversion ratios between those, and then actually dial them up, try to tweak that. Again, if you're not measuring it, you can't improve it. So some key things you need to be looking at as a business for sure. Jeff, what are some characteristics and activities that are common in small businesses that come out of tough times stronger than other businesses? We've broached some of these, but I think there's some additional things you could add to this for sure.
Yeah, they're like you said, we've hit a lot of them. The biggest one to get right up front is they don't stop marketing, right? They look at challenges in economies as times to reinvent themselves, time to do something different, times to position themselves better against competitors. They don't just pull their heads in. Turtle, I think is what we said before. They look at strategic cost management, right? Every financial decision in a business comes with an opportunity cost. If I spend money on this, what am I not spending it on, right? So it's an optimization equation, right? Do we add more inventory if we're not sure people are going to buy it, or do we spend more on marketing and then figure out how to solve the inventory problem when we see, returns on that? So it's always strategic cost management, making sure you're not sacrificing the long term for the short term. My personal opinion, I'm not an MBA. My personal opinion is that for many, many years, decisions were made on the short term, not the long term, and it's detrimental overall. That
you have a real life MBA, Jeff.
that quarter, yeah, the School of Hard Knocks, right? That managing for the short term, that managing for the quarterly stock dividend, that quarterly earnings call. I spent a lot of years in the corporate world. I just saw so many bad decisions being made for the long term because of the only thing that mattered was the next 6 months. And yeah, you got to worry about what's coming, what's right in front of your face, and do you have enough money to survive? But you also can't try and save pennies and then go out of business because of it. Innovation and adaptability. We talked about that a little bit, saying, what can we do different? Who can we serve differently? How can we innovate our products differently? How can we produce things right? Marketing isn't the only place to save money in a business. Can we do something in manufacturing? Can we rely more on automation, whether it's marketing automation or manufacturing automation? Can we build different relationships with different service providers to get things done? I mean, these are all things to look at. And then, of course, the customer focus. We talked about that before. It's always about your customer. You have two things you got to do in your business. You got to have somebody to sell to, and you got to have something to sell them. So the customer focus has always got to be there. Keeping your staff engaged. I think Paul hit on that earlier. He talked about, are there other things you can do to keep your staff engaged so you can retain your staff? The ultimate goal is to weather the downtimes and come out of it stronger for it, right? So you can make some tough decisions on finances. You can make some tough decisions on staff, but figure out how to keep your staff that you need everything you do is just getting a little leaner, a little meaner, and positioning for success down the road. This may be the time to move into technology. Maybe you didn't have time to explore leveraging technology before, but now you've got a little time to explore it. Yeah, there may be a little incremental expense, but again, looking at the long-term gain, this may be the opportune time to figure out those things you haven't had time to figure out, or to do those things you haven't had time to do. Don't overanalyze things. I'm an engineer by background. I'm very analytical. I'm guilty of this, right? Be agile in your decision making. Be ready to make a quick decision and to try something. You don't necessarily need to commit to everything for the longer term, but be open to trying things and open to experimenting. We talk a lot in marketing about experimenting. You always need to know what's changing. How are your customers' mindsets changing? How are the tactics that work changing? This is the time to be maybe even more experimentative, experimenting oriented. And
you heard it first here, folks. We invented a new word.
Hey, I used to,
Stephen Colbert.
I used to work in the corporate world, and any noun can be verbed. And then just staying on top of things. That means strong leadership. That means strong sense of, the market, your finger on the pulse of the market. Monitor the trends. This may, again, you got maybe a little bit more time. It may be a good time to keep up with what's going on in the market and kind of thinking ahead of it, and that ties back into feeding that innovation, feeding that positioning for the future. So yeah, there's a lot of things that can happen, and that will ultimately bring you out of the leaner times in a stronger position.
Awesome. Thanks for sharing that, Jeff.
Yeah.
I wanted to do a round table at the end as well, but do you guys, we won't do a round table because of time, but do you guys have any additional thoughts that you wanted to share before we close down this episode?
Yeah. I think one thing that's important is this has to be strategically done. You need to give this a lot of thought. And if you don't have the marketing expertise, I know it's an additional investment, but I think it's a wise investment to work with somebody who's going to be able to guide you through crafting and putting together and executing a better marketing strategy. And, so seek out help. Don't try to do this alone. I know the inclination is, not to spend money maybe on some of these things, but again, if you're going to be able to create a more effective marketing strategy by using that help and maybe even identifying new potential channels or seeing where there are soft spots that your competitors have left open that you could rush in and dominate, take advantage of that stuff. And I think, it may sound a little self-serving because we're all marketing strategists, but I think now is more important than ever to really look at that. And if you're, so make sure whoever you work with is not just a vendor to sell you a nice, pretty, shiny tool, and is one-dimensional. Now is the time to be making an investment in strategy.
Mm-hmm. I think a little bit of guidance and coaching too. This is the time to get the expert help. And look, ROI is always important, right? But you got to look at it as Ken, you said earlier, marketing is an investment, and is a little bit of effort or money to work with somebody that can help guide you, to help hone the strategy, that can help look for the new opportunities. If it's got the ROI that it should, it becomes a no-brainer, because it's like, yeah, we can make some cuts in other areas, but we're going to focus on this one because we're going to get the ROI and come out of it stronger. So I think it's a long way of agreeing with you and saying, yeah, it's not just getting the work done, but also looking at help to look at new ways of getting the work done. I think AI in a down economy is really going to start to come. It's coming mainstream anyway, but I think AI is going to accelerate coming mainstream because of the productivity enhancements it can offer. Therefore, the ROI it affords. Like a $20 subscription in an AI platform goes a long way these days. You got to know how to do it. So a little guidance, to help with that. But I think we're going to see more of those things kind of going on too.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, Ian, you talked about, the how to grow a small business and, Donald Miller's kind of approach. When you look at an airplane, as having the 6 key components, I mean, now is the time where you actually could really cripple yourself if you're not careful. But you mentioned the sales and marketing, the wings, but you also have to look at cash flow strategies, and so there are things that you might need to do to get an immediate infusion of cash, and so that might be, it should be a strategically done thing to pull in that cash. Overhead is critical at this point. The worst thing you can do in your decisions in a down economy is to make a really oddly looking shaped plane that isn't aerodynamic. And so if you cut, if you let your operations continue to bloat, if you cut marketing, obviously sales are probably already struggling, so you already have one wing that's already kind of weird and oddly shaped. And then leadership ultimately is going to be what's going to be able to guide you through this. So, it's a great analogy. And, I think I'm glad you brought that point up.
Paul, any last thoughts?
No, I think we covered it pretty well, as much as we could in an hour.
All right. Well, thanks, guys, for sharing these great points for helping small business owners, hunker down during a tough economy, especially if their business is feeling it. Again, not every business is feeling it, but all of these tips are actually really valuable regardless of the circumstance your business is in. So remember these key takeaways and make sure that, the key takeaway, I think the bottom line we would all echo is marketing isn't just a budget line. It's an investment in your business's resilience and growth. And by staying proactive and focused, you can navigate challenges and come out of a down economy stronger than ever. So thank you for listening. If you found this episode helpful, we hope you did. Please consider subscribing. Please share it with people that are struggling and could use some help. And let us know if you have particular challenges, pain points that you need help with, and we can cover those topics. And until next time, keep calm and market on, folks.